Okay, you guys. So I was just editing the video that is coming up, and obviously I was sitting here knitting on my beautiful pickle jar scarf and figured I probably ought to do a quick introduction as to what happened. So, as I was trying to edit the paper crafting tools video, number one, I realized we were looking at like a 50-minute video. I had a natural break in the video as I was filming between trying to clear my desk surface. And then once again, when the doorbell rang 10 minutes into this video, and I decided to take the opportunity to go ahead and split these into two videos because it is so much information. So there, while the same links from part one will be down in the description box down below with the affiliate links, the double-sided adhesive tape from scrapbook.com, I am adding some extra links down below with the stamping platforms, the craft keepers, and things like that. But I did want to let you know why this got split into two, because it was a really long video. And there was just so many little things in there that I wanted to make sure that I shared with you guys, little tips and tricks, learn from my mistakes. um, but anyway, I hope you guys continue to enjoy. Please, in the description box down below, feel free to ask any kind of questions you have. If you are wondering about a supply, if there's something you want me to actually spend some time on, talking about in a video, I would be more than happy to continue doing some of these more like introducing yourself into paper crafting videos. But like I said, I really can't do much in the way of tutorials with the way my craft room is set up. I don't really have a studio space where I can do those kinds of things. That's why it's so hard and slow for me to turn out even the crocheting and knitting tutorials. So, something like this where I can just stand there, talk, show you a supply, talk about it, show you its applications and stuff. I don't mind, but let me know what you guys think. As always, I'm not gonna, the ending of the video will be the ending of the video, but I love you guys. Check out the YouTubers that I mentioned at the end of the video. Once again, they have their version of this video series. They also have tutorials and process videos and sketches that you'll be able to use to get jump started into card making. But yeah, I hope y'all are having a wonderful, fantastic day. As always, I love you, and I will see you guys real soon. Okie dokie. So that took me a little bit longer than I thought. I had a couple phone calls come in while I was putting away supplies. So we're back to it. Okay. This is another point where those tips start coming in. When you're picking your paper pad to start with, there are mixed feelings on this. I, in retrospect, would recommend going with a 6x6 paper pad to start your first set of cards. There are wonderful tutorials out there for how to have little to no scraps. There are many different ways to adjust sketches out there that you find on the internet to using a 6x6 pad. Most of the measurements you'll see out there, a 6x6 can accommodate, with the exception of some of the larger decor pieces on things like maybe a 5x7, but there are ways to cheat that many YouTubers will show you if you watch their videos and content. I primarily use 12x12 pads because that's what I have. As I did not come into this as a card maker, I started with the Cricut and then started doing other things and then started maybe scrapbooking some. What I found on sale, reasonable prices, a lot of the time were 12x12 pads. Pick a 6x6 pad just to get yourself started. If you decide you like 12x12, great. If you want to continue with 6x6, wonderful. I know a lot of people who are primarily card makers, like Justine Hovey, Jess Crafts, they purchase 6x6 pads because that's what they find that they are using. So in this example that I'm going to show you, I'm actually going to show you a 12x12 pad because that is what I primarily use and what I have. But remember, I do recommend starting out with, 2 or 3 6x6 pads. If your Tuesday Morning carries paper products, a lot of them have the Echo Park and Cartabella collections, which are beautiful papers to start with. Many of them are double-sided, so you're going to get lots of distance out of them. I do have a lot of paper packs, which come in the plastic with stickers and sometimes embellishments and stuff like that. But like I said, really try to focus on 6x6 to get you jump started. So this is a fall pad. This is a Recollections pad. This is one of their former Hot Buy pads. So I paid like $5 for this because these go on sale. They frequently go on sale. Buy one, get two free. They're $20 each or $25 each normally. But frequently Hot Buy stuff goes on sale for $5 at my Michael's. So this was a $5 paper pad. Yes, you get a lot more paper. You've got a lot more large scale prints and something like this, but so one thing I think makes your cards look very clean and more on the professional side is matting. I am a huge advocate of matting your pieces as you go into building your cards. And of course, I don't have any of my finished. Oh, I do. Never mind. Hold on. Should have probably thought about this as I was coming in. If I had just put this piece of paper down on the craft cardstock, it would look a little chintzy. I think layers make your cards feel thick, and thick cards feel more luxurious. They feel more put together. But notice there's a mat on the card. There's a mat on this 3x4 piece. There's a mat on the belly band and a mat behind my Merry Christmas sentiment there. Matting pulls everything together. You can use different color mats depending on what you're doing. You can get a little bit more creative with what you're doing. Once again, even on my scrap cards, I tried to mat things. I still do not like that choice that I made there. But so when you're picking solid cardstock for matting, if your paper pack, should you have a 12x12, does not have a lot of solids you can use, one of my go-to things are actually these collections from Michael's. Purchase only as you need. Only purchase the colors that you need. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a whole bunch of paper and no clue what to do with it, and it doesn't match anything you're trying to do. Only purchase these as you need them. They do go on sale quite a bit. The 65-pound cardstock frequently is like $2.99 for a package of 50. These are fantastic. This has already been cut into. I've been using this for the fall cards that I didn't get a chance to send out last year. But I grabbed this to show you, like, if I were going to come in here, this Spice Market set would go with a lot of the paper options that are in here. We have neutrals. So, like, I would have gone out and purchased this specifically when it came time to use this pad. Don't buy it all up at once. You don't need every color of cardstock that was ever made. Now, there are some wonderful cardstocks that come from other companies. My Favorite Things has great cardstock. Simon Says Craft has beautiful cardstock. Now, when it comes to making my card bases, I do use 110-pound Nina for my white cards. I go through a lot of white card bases. I do have a couple of different options that I have used for doing black and craft cardstock, but Michael sells a 110-pound pack of their cardstock, some in color, some in neutrals. They're $15.99 a package. When you buy them at Michael's, you can frequently use a coupon with those, or they do go on sale about 4 times a year. So if you find yourself using a whole bunch of colored 110-pound cardstock, great. Purchase it up then, but wait until you know what you're going to be using. Don't just buy it all up at once. Because like I said, with ink and stamps, if you find yourself not using it, you're going to find disappointment in your crafting. And this should be something that brings you joy, not disappointment. So only purchase these as you need them. I do think the Michael's cardstock makes wonderful mats. I don't have any affiliates when it comes to paper crafting, as I am primarily a fiber arts channel. So, you know, I don't have access to things like nobody's sending me kits or gifts or anything else to use their products, to test them out, to talk about them. So I don't have a lot of the high-end stuff. I do use a lot of Michael's basic cardstock. And one of the reasons why I love particularly these color packs that come from Michael's is they are solid core instead of white core. As I don't like taking time to ink edges and stuff like that, having the solid core cardstock means you don't get that white edge on a lot of things. For my Christmas cards this year, I did use a paper pack that I had in Christmas colors that had a white core. And a lot of them will say, especially like the DCWV, I know their solids say solid core versus white core cardstock. I ended up inking a lot of edges on the Christmas cards, which is one of the reasons why it took me so long to get my Christmas cards done, because I had to ink all those edges to prevent that little white edge from showing, because it just kind of looked not what I was going for. So, highly recommend just using the Michael's cardstock as you develop as a crafter and find more things that you want to use. Tip your toe in and buy a couple pieces from here, buy a couple pieces from there. But take your time in expanding into the more expensive supplies. I use quite a bit of the Michael stuff and love it. So buy it as you need it, but definitely buy the coordinate packs to the paper pad you are working with now. I do store mine in, when I buy them, I do store them in those little things, and I keep this piece in here so I know what is in this package, and I do store them to where I can just go through this way sideways and see what I have. But buy only as you need and only what coordinates to the paper pad you're using. If you find yourself doing more, and in particular working with 12 by 12 paper pads, I do recommend these Craft Keepers. Many scrapbookers will be familiar with these and how they store things to take them to crops. There are other smaller envelopes out there, and I will link a few in the description box, that are very similar to these if you do stick with the 6x6 paper pads. But if you need to be able to clean your work surface off fairly quickly, having these just to drop your project in real quick and go is fantastic. I did recently purchase the scrapbook.com set of mini envelopes. I'm not sure I'm going to like these very much because they have the tuck closure. They're built like a regular envelope. I do like having the stamp closure on mine. Oh, 1 second again. I'm very sorry about that. That was my doorbell this time. So, our last two things to talk about. One is a paper trimmer. You're definitely going to need one of these out of the gate, in my opinion, because you don't want to be sitting there using scissors for everything, especially as you're trying to cut a whole bunch of squares. So my go-to paper trimmer for many years has been this one from Fiskars. It, levers out to where I can do 12 by 12. We have a nice, easy to view. I mean, you can see how much it's been used and how well loved it is. I did just finally break this one. This one I had back from before I got the Cricut and everything else. So this is probably about 8 years old now. This is a personal preference thing. There are many drag blade options out there that people swear by. I think Rotary or Swingline is the way to go to get more accurate cuts. So if you're going to be very fussy about accurate straight lines, I highly recommend a rotary blade cutter. And this one, I broke part of the holder for the rotary blade in there. But this one in particularly is lightweight. I have kept this on my desk just to do quick cuts. When my desk is messy, I can easily set this on top, cut what I need, put it back down beside my chair at the desk, and go. I love this cutter. I have loved this cutter for many moons. I have replaced my cutting surface many, many times. This one you can already tell. I've already used both sides of it, and it was fairly new. I can find those replacements for like $2.99. My blades almost never go dull in this. I've loved this for many years. However, I do have other cutters, and I'm going to be honest, I probably have about 10 to 12 different paper cutters in here, paper trimmers. The next one I would recommend is only if you're invested at this point. You're going to be doing this a lot. You're going to be going through a lot. You're going to be cutting your own card bases. That 110-pound cardstock is really, really thick. If you're going to start wanting to cut chipboard regularly, if you start diversifying your paper crafts outside of just making cards and using, 45 to 110-pound cardstock, that's more than enough. And the third trimmer I'm going to discuss is more than enough if you're just doing 6x6 work. This giant Mamma Jamma from Fiskars, once again, rotary blade trimmer, heavy duty. All the printing is underneath the plastic here. This thing cuts like a dream. This is a much more heavy duty cutter. There are more expensive things out on the market than this. This is the cheapest I've ever seen this is $89. The most expensive I've seen somebody trying to sell this for is $130. So this is not a cheap cutter. This is something, once you're invested, you want to be able to cut 4 or 5 pieces of 110-pound cardstock at once. You're going to be doing chipboard. You're going to be doing other things that are more than just cutting paper and basic cardstock. That's when you would invest in something like this. I love this trimmer. I leave it set out when I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of big things, but this isn't something you need right off the bat. This is the way upgraded version of my plastic one that I shared with you guys, and I am going to replace that cutter. Just not yet, because I do have this. But I do love this cutter. This cutter works like a dream. It can do up to 5 sheets of the 110-pound cardstock. As I do make my own card bases, my A2 size card bases, being able to cut 10 card bases real quick and easy like that is very helpful. It is a time-saving device, but it's one of those things you don't need it out of the gate. Go with the more simple one. I do recommend rotary blade over drag blade. Drag blades are the ones that have the little metal piece and you just zip it across and it just kind of, those are great when you put a new blade in, but I find they dull very quickly. Now, part of that might be how much cutting I do, but I was finding I was spending way too much in blades. Whereas with the rotary cutters, I don't spend nearly as much in blades. Plus, I don't have to be as conscientious about starting in the middle and cutting out. I can just drop my paper in and go. So I do recommend a rotary blade trimmer. You will find the one that works for you. I do recommend the inexpensive Fiskars one versus the big Mamma Jamma, but that's fine. The other cutter I did want to mention is my Swingline cutter that I go to when I'm doing 6x6 card making. A lot of the time I reach, once again, for a tonic Tim Holtz trimmer. I can't remember if this is the current one or if this has been upgraded once again. This one only goes out to 6 inches. So if you follow my recommendation for starting out with 6x6 paper pads, this is very convenient to just have on your desk. Keep it to the side, and if you need to make a quick snippy, you can. Now, Swingline is not my go-to. I find if you put more than 2 pieces of cardstock in any of the Swingline cutters, you tend to get shifting, which can untrue your lines. You get a little uneven, a little wonky, which is not what most people want. However, if you're just trying to do a quick trim up, I think this is a wonderful trimmer. This is a little bit more on the spendy side. I'm showing this one specifically because I know a couple of different places I can at least find the Tim Holtz line or the tonic line Swingline trimmers. There are other Swingline trimmers that are equally as wonderful that are small trimmers. But the 6x6 size on this is absolutely wonderful. It actually comes down to it's marked here. 2 by 3.5, 3 by 5, 3 by 5 in the opposite direction, 4.25 by 5.5, 4 by 6, and 5 by 7. So you have quite a few different places where you can mark yourself off as trying to true up things. Say you're matting a 5 by 7 card. That would come in real handy because you can just come in one block and then come in one block and know that you're going to have a 1/4 inch border around your card base. So things like that are nice to have. This is specifically made for card makers, so there are little extras like that. And I do like this holding plate. I wish it went up with the cutter, but it does give you plenty of places to put your finger down to hold pressure on your paper where your fingers are completely cleared from your free edge blade. Now, because this is a lightweight, easy portable trimmer, I do wish it had a lock on it. It does not have any kind of a lock to lock your blade down. So I do recommend once you have this out and you are using it, you put it down and don't move it until you're done. And I store mine. I've got like the little pot lid rack on my desk unit over there, and I store it with the blade side up and in, and that way I can grab it here and slide it out, or if I'm picking it up directly out of it, I'm not swinging that blade out. But you'll find your storage options. You'll find what storage works for you and what organization works for you. But this is very lightweight. It's very portable. It's very easy to use. And I think everything on it is very easy to see. It's very easy to see everything on here. So if you're looking for a smaller trimmer, that would probably be the one I would most recommend, even though it is a little bit more on the spendy side than some of the other options out there. I've also had that one for about 4 years, I think. That may be the newer one. One got lost. And I can't remember if this is the older one or the newer one because I had to replace it. But absolutely wonderful tool. The last thing I'm going to discuss, and this is not a must-have, but this is something you're going to see a lot of people talking about in videos. If you do start getting into stamping, sentiments, images, little things to color with markers and colored pencils, I do recommend investing in a stamping platform. For things like doing the sentiments in my Christmas cards, this is so much quicker than trying to constantly line up a stamp. These platforms make it so much easier because you put your stamp in here, it doesn't move. So you can re-ink it and get that ink as dark as you want it to be. The first one I have here is my Misty. This is the older version of the Misty. There is a new version that has an easy open lip on the clear lid here. It comes with a heavy duty neodymium magnet. This is my newer one. This is one of the items that got lost when we moved to this house and then eventually was found. So I do have another one floating around somewhere over there. Once again, this is a very expensive product for what it is, but it is highly useful. And if you are like me and you have a giant family you send Christmas cards to and you want to make cards for everybody in your family and you're going to be stamping Merry Christmas 800 times, I do recommend going ahead and investing in one of these. You can put your cardstock in the corner. You'll line your stamp up one good time. Big pieces like that I don't even normally use the magnet for, but you put your piece of cardstock in. Line up your stamp here. Close the lid. The lid picks up your, in this case, clear plastic stamp. And you can ink it, close it, ink it, close it, and it's always going to be in the right position as long as you make sure this is your paper is lined up to where you have the stamp lined up to. It's a time-saving thing. This is definitely a wait for it for when you need it. Another option that you will see out there is the one from Tonic. Once again, I know I'm saying the same thing over and over again. I don't use this for my clear stamps. I only use this for my rubber stamps that don't have a wood block on them. I do have quite a few of those. I do use those for a lot of sentiments, and I do have a lot of the Tim Holtz sketchy design kind of products or stamps. So this is reversible. You can see I actually have it set up for rubber stamps. But this one, the door comes off. You can flip it. I have a pad there for when I was using clear poly stamps on it. But you can flip the door in order to have a little extra depth to accommodate for the rubber stamp versus your clear stamp. It's clearly marked. Now that I've got this flipped. No, shoot. I don't have this on a solid surface. Now it says I've got it set up for clear stamps, and you can see there's a ridge right here that would accommodate the rubber stamp when it's flipped the other way. This is a great product. It's a wonderful product. Once again, it is not something you need to purchase right out of the gate. It once again does come with the heavy duty neodymium magnets. I covered mine in washi tape just so they're easier to pull off the work surface. But it's a great product. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. It works wonderfully every single time I pull it out. It's just not my go-to one because I don't use rubber stamps very often. But I do think this accommodates rubber stamps better than my Misty does. When you use rubber stamps with your Misty, you take out the mouse pad, and now you have a lip to accommodate that depth from the rubber stamp. I actually find this one does rubber stamps better. This one does clear stamps better. Both of them are not necessary, though. You can pick the one you want. But I do have both. I actually have 2 of the Misties, and I think I have the smaller version of the Tim Holtz one. If you're primarily card making, I definitely recommend going ahead and getting the larger Misty, though, because it accommodates your 5x7 cards. It also accommodates your 6x6 size cards. If you're wanting to do more, like on scrapbooking pages, if you want to build a background using your stamps, I would recommend getting the Tim Holtz one, as it is significantly larger. There is a 12x12 version of the Misty. However, I did not like that one. I thought the lid did not completely close, and I could not get enough purchase on the lid to really get those stamps pressed down, even using a press. So if you're wanting it for 12x12 scrapbooking as well, I would go ahead and opt for the Tim Holtz version. So just some things to keep in mind, some things that are out there. I just threw a ridiculous amount of information at you guys. I hope that this was helpful, at least getting you started. One of the things I did very quickly want to talk about is I did mention sketches, picking sketches that are out there. If you have never made cards before, go follow Jess Crafts and watch her One Sheet Wonder 6x6 paper pad videos. She's one of the people that really inspired me into card making and taking chances with card making. And now that she is doing her version of the One Sheet Wonders using 6x6 and the, they're not 8.5 by 11, but they're like 8 by 10 maybe, paper pads. Now that she's starting to build more One Sheet Wonders around those, it's a great starting place. I actually have all of her sketches printed out and put in a binder, and I use them very frequently. If you do happen to have 12x12 paper and you're looking for something more 12x12 geared, follow Alicia over at Call Me Crafty Al. Her sketches are absolutely brilliant. Once again, I use a ton of her sketches when I am making bunches of cards to send out to friends and family or to have on hand. And mowing through a 12x12 paper pad is very easy following her stuff. She shows you how to build 8 cards to 12 cards, depending on the sketch, using your 12x12 paper. But she does give you individual measurements so you can scale back to only making a single card using her sketches as well. So those are the 2 channels I would really highly focus on going to first. The 3rd channel would be Christy Marcotte. She has oodles and oodles and oodles of making videos. where you see where she's matting things, and she tells you what sketches she uses. On her blog, she even has like the measurements that she used to make her card sets. So you can very easily pull up a bunch of the Christy Marcotte, like pull up her blog, follow along, look at the sizes and measurements for everything that she did in her 12 by 12 or 6 by 6 or kit collections that she is creating from. She does participate in a lot of the make as many as you can kind of videos. So, you know, I got, 33 cards out of a 6 by 6 paper pad. These are the supplies I use. She's very clear, very concise. She does show you her hands on her desk going, but she does not do a whole lot of voiceover videos. So you do have to watch completely what she's doing instead of kind of watching and listening at the same time. You do really have to pay attention to her hands and watching the video, but the information she shares between her blog, what you see is she's making her cards, how she flips back and forth between papers to see what she wants to put together. You see her entire process, and that's a lot of filming and a lot of work to do. So like I've said before, it is not a diss on her channel. She doesn't do voiceover work, because it would be hours of her just sitting there talking, whereas we get to see a lot more information being shown to us in her videos without doing the voiceover. She can produce far more videos and share a lot more information that way than you ever could in doing the voiceover work. So I highly recommend making that your third stop just to watch the process. Jess Crafts does a lot of process videos. Alicia also does a lot of process videos. Every month she Call Me Crafty Owl releases the sheet load of cards. If you're subscribed to her channel, she explains to you how to download the template and PDF for that, so you can print it off. I have all of hers also printed in a binder here, and I add to it every single month. She does the share of what it is on the first. On the second, she does the process video, and she walks you through the process of how she makes that first set of cards. Sometimes we even get a second set of cards that she shares with us in those videos. So all three of these are going to show you process and how they individually do these things. And you really get an idea for how to put things together, or creating dimension using matting, or dimension using the foam tape I talked about earlier. When it comes to embellishments, you're going to have to find your own style. You know, I personally tend to keep it very simple with things like enamel dots, little glitter stickers, and sometimes like some Nuvo drops or something. But some of these card makers, I mean, they use flowers, they use lace, they use doilies, they use all sorts of different things to create little works of art. My cards are very simple. I prefer a very simple, clean style for the most part, but I am amazed at what a lot of these makers are able to create. So definitely jump in, really look at these videos, watch the process of these videos. I'm not set up to film my hands very often, so it's very difficult for me to do any type of process video like that. But definitely watch those three ladies and see what they're doing, and watch their process and watch how they're putting things together. I cannot tell you enough, just like as I've told people with learning new techniques for knitting and crochet, watch as many people as you possibly can making what they make. And you'll start to develop your own style. You'll start to branch out a little bit more. You'll get a better understanding as you slowly step into the supplies, what works for your style and what doesn't. It is a learning curve. This isn't something you're just going to jump in and immediately know exactly who you are and what you are, and your style will change with time. So be flexible with yourself. Don't over invest in things you don't have to have until you need them in that moment. So that's really my best advice overall, outside of getting your basic supplies underway. I have already spent way too much time standing here talking to you guys. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but that was a lot of information to get through. I do want to thank the 3 people who reached out individually through my email and on Instagram to request this video. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up, all that good stuff that you hear every other YouTuber say. Other than that, I hope you all are having a wonderful, fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you all real soon. Bye, guys.